This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. I could do a series of videos about Republicans who really don't stand for anything other than chaos and division. I could create a series of videos about culture war nonsense, about how Republicans are dedicated to the proposition of whipping up their followers into a frenzy and indoctrinating the youth of America to feel this is normal. This is one of the outcomes that I really worried about when Donald Trump became president, that there were newly initiated people into politics in America, kids who were high schoolers, and they finally became politically aware during Donald Trump's era, who became voters, who had never really paid attention to politics because they were kids. And this new generation might think this is the normal, that this is how politicians act, this is how our leaders should behave. That's a problem. That nothing getting done is the norm. That politicians not advocating for the betterment of the lives of their constituencies is the norm. And it is not. Ted Cruz is among them. Ted Cruz recently was at a Young America's Foundation conference in Austin, I believe. And he shared the stage with Michael Knowles, who is a Daily Wire ding-dong, and Liz Wheeler, who is a poor man's Tomi Lahren. I say that because she took over for Tomi Lahren on One American News. She's since moved on to whatever other nonsense. And it was like an hour and a half long video. You're welcome for scrubbing through all of that footage for this. Well, first of all, let me read. This is just how pandering nonsense this is. This is from the YouTube description on the video. Howdy, y'all. Senator Ted Cruz is back home where he and his trusty cactus belong. And Michael Knowles, well, he's still looking for his cowboy hat and boots. Tonight, the podcasting pair is live from the maskless, open, free state of Texas. And it's going to be one hell of a ride. Yeah, yeah. That is pandering nonsense. Howdy, y'all. Just because it's Texas doesn't mean anyway, that's where we are. That's the start. That's the start of the video on the description. And there's a moment where a questioner asks Ted Cruz about secession. There has long been a move or a desire to have Texas declare itself its own nation. Like that would work out. And the questioner asks, and Ted Cruz demurs a little bit, well, I'm not there yet, I love America, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes into this thing about how they're going to take the military, they're going to take NASA, they're going to take the oil. And then, only because Ted Cruz is absolutely shameless and doesn't mind everyone knowing that he is only there to pander to kids and please children, think I'm cool. He says Joe Rogan will be president of Texas. Watch this couple of minutes exchange and just, suppress the gag reflex.
In a very weird what-if scenario, if Texas were to secede, or any other state for that matter, what would do you think would be the best course of action, or how do you think the federal government would respond?
I think I know which side he's on. I don't know.
So look, I got to say, and it was kind of interesting, I was talking with Michael and Liz before the show, and they were asking, so is the question of Texas secession going to come up? And I said, yeah, probably. And listen, I understand the sentiment behind the question. I'm not there yet. And we actually had a debate over drinks last night after the show. Listen, I think Texas has a responsibility to the country. And I'm not ready to give up on America. I love this country. And I think without Texas, look, Texas, we're brash, we're not shy, we're sometimes larger than life, but Texas is right now an amazing force keeping America from going off the cliff, keeping America grounded on the values that built this country, on the values of freedom. I think we have a responsibility. Now, listen, if the Democrats end the filibuster, if they fundamentally destroy the country, if they pack the Supreme Court, if they make D.C. a state, if they federalize elections and massively expand voter fraud, there may come a point where it's hopeless. We're not there yet. And if there comes a point where it's hopeless, then I think we take NASA, we take the military, we take the oil.
Take me. Please take me. I don't want to be trapped.
What about Joe Rogan? Are you going to take him?
Joe Rogan, he might be the president of Texas.
All right. Now listen, obviously the Joe Rogan thing is said in jest. A lot of this is said in jest. But what is serious? Well, one, it's said in jest, but it is also to ingratiate himself to the audience. He wants the audience he's desperate to be one of the cool kids. He's another one of these a la Josh Hawley who's obsessed with masculinity when he just can't really get it together to put any on display. So that's a problem in and of itself, that we have such insecure doofuses in office, in high office. He's a senator. But the other things that he mentioned, that if Democrats succeed in these certain things, then it is time to consider secession from the Union. Ending the filibuster, which, by the way, the filibuster chiefly right now, which isn't in the Constitution, it's but a rule of the Senate, a rule that the two sides at some point 150 years ago or whatever came together to make. The filibuster serves right now to stop a voting rights bill from going into place. 3 times now, the Republicans have blocked debate. They don't even want to talk about it. So the filibuster chiefly serves to disenfranchise black and brown Americans. And if we get rid of the filibuster and we allow those people to have unfettered access to the franchise of voting, Ted Cruz thinks it's time to leave the Union. It's time to dissolve America as it appears today. Packing the Supreme Court, which, by the way, Ted Cruz, you should know, you fancy yourself a constitutional scholar. It is a constitutional process. The Constitution of these United States gives the authority to restructure the courts, to structure them any way they see fit, to Congress. It is under the congressional purview, if they so choose, to pack the court, as you say. Whether we put 11 members or 13 or 15 or 21, that is your constitutional authority. It's not a usurpation of America. Making D.C. a state, that is just brazen. The reason he doesn't want to make D.C. a state is because it is a city largely comprised of people of color who now aren't fully represented in Congress. There is no senator for the city of D.C. There is no congressperson. They're not represented in Congress with a vote. And if we make D.C. a state, they will have representation. They will fully realize the right to vote, the right to be represented. Listen, the American Revolution was fought chiefly about taxation without representation. Do you think they're not collecting taxes from the citizens of Washington, D.C.? Of course they are. And those same citizens do not have a voice. They do not have a vote in Congress. So far, 2 of the first 3 things he mentioned revolve around black and brown people having full access to the voting franchise. Federalizing elections. Because in Ted Cruz's reality, he would love to be back in the 40s. He would love to have states be able to oppress and step upon the necks of black and brown voters and not allow them to have access. Here we are. 3 out of the first 4 have to do with voting. And then his nonsense massively expand voter fraud. Expand? How can you expand something that does not exist? There is no voter fraud. All of these, 4 of these 5 things, and it could be argued that packing the Supreme Court would also impact that because of some of the terrible rulings that have come out relative to pre-clearance and the Voting Rights Act. Ted Cruz is showing his hand here. And then take NASA, take the military. We'll take the oil. And you know what? Joe Rogan can be your president. If it weren't for the millions of Democrats and good Americans who live in Texas, I'd say take it and go. Be gone. See how well you make it on your own. But that's an incorrect position to take because of the fact that there are millions of good and decent people who live there, who live under the oppressive rule of Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick and Ken Paxton, Ted Cruz. Idiots, every single last one of them, who don't care about leadership, who don't care about bettering America. All they care about is chaos and division. As the crowd hoops and yells and doesn't mind being pandered to with the howdy, y'all. Ugh, gross. I'd love to know what you think. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. Thanks for joining me today and every day. Thanks for engaging with my content, the likes and the subscribes and the comments. Listen, I know it doesn't seem like it goes a long way, but it really does because it signals to YouTube that this is something that's being engaged with a lot. We should show it on the little bar next to the video to other people who might also like it. So your commenting, your liking really does help the channel grow. The other way to help the channel grow is to support my work on Patreon, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast, or right here on YouTube. You can click the join button below this video, become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month. All of it goes a long way to help support and produce my work and grow this operation into something dynamic and fantastic. My podcast co-host, Brittany Page, and I, we are moving to DC in just a couple of months, and there are big changes on the horizon that I think you're going to really think are great. Anyway, I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.